Alright, today we're going to be breaking down the squat. It's a pretty fundamental lift. It has a lot of relevance in a lot of different sports. The main muscles that are going to be involved, you have your hamstrings, quads, and of course your glutes. Two major joints are going to be your knees. You're going to have maximum flexion in the knees during the lift. Minimal rotation of the hips, a little bit of the ankles too, but so we're going to be going over a couple of different things. We got, there's a lot of variance between the lifts. You can do a back squat. You can shift the weight towards the front of your shoulders and do a front squat. There's also some different things you can do if you don't have a squat rack. But the biggest things we're going to focus on is proper form. So why don't you go ahead and take over and we can get this thing going.
Sure. Okay, well, going from there, talking about proper form, we want to have our feet shoulder width apart. We want to have a good strong stance. When we squat down, we want to think about butt back and chest up. We don't want to be too bent over. We don't have too much extension in the back there. So go ahead when we go down, all the way, good. Want to go to parallel or slightly lower than that. And when we come back up, want to go ahead and push those hips to the top and really squeeze the glutes. So kind of just from a side view here. Again, we got good feet shoulder width apart. Go ahead, just regular body squats, going all the way down. You see here we have maximal flexion here, minimal there. There is going to be, we try to keep that flat back. We want too much rounding in the back. Go ahead all the way up, really pushing those hips through, like that, good. And then even from there, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and do squat jumps. So it's the same thing, going all the way down and explosive all the way up, pushing those hips through at the top, jumping, and going right back into it. From there, we can go into our regular back squats.
Starting off with the back squats, it's the most traditional, I feel like the most popular form of the squat. It's going to really be working your hamstrings and your quads a lot. So basically, what we're going to start off doing is you want to make sure that the bar is centered in the middle of the rack because you don't want too much weight pushing on your side. You've got to make sure that when you go underneath that your shoulders line up right underneath, and then try to push up mostly with your legs. Don't get too much involved in your upper body. Take it straight back. You want to walk through the form?
Sure. So here, good hands, good distance apart from the shoulders here. Go ahead when we're going down, remember chest up back. So go ahead and squat down. Good. Make sure at the bottom we're pushing our knees out. We don't want our knees to buckle in, especially when we start to have heavier weight on here. Our knees tend to buckle in more. That's not going to be good for squat position. It causes a lot of problems with the knees. So go ahead and come back up. Remember, pushing the glutes through. Good. Another important key thing too is that once we do start getting that heavier weight, to have those elbows pushed in because that weight gets so much on our back, pushes us so much forward. Squeezing those elbows forward helps us to keep that flat back straight up all the way through. Walking it into the rack, make sure we get it all the way in so we don't drop it on ourselves. Go ahead and squat down low to go ahead and rack it back up. So now going into our front rack squat. So instead of having the weight on your back, you can go ahead and have it on the front of you. So go ahead and step out to the bar. Having our hands underneath. Elbows up high, we don't want our elbows down low, that's when we drop the bar. Same principle here, except if you use our core a little more, lean back a little more because all that weight is in front of us. Going all the way down, parallel lower, pushing those knees out, keeping those elbows up, driving all the way through. There are a couple of different variances that you can have with your hands. You can have them like this. You can have them crossed over here, making sure that barbell is resting on the flat. So if you don't have access to a gym, don't want to pay those membership fees, and you don't have access to a barbell to do those weighted squats, besides body squats, if you have a kettlebell laying around, there are a couple different ways that we can kind of incorporate this into our workouts. So kind of doing it from like a rack position, you can do it with one kettlebell, two kettlebells. So just starting with the kettlebell right underneath you, feet about shoulder width apart. Go ahead, squatting down, grabbing that kettlebell. You want to rack it up. So how to rack it up properly without getting hurt. From here, we're going to drive our knees out. We're going to really pull that shoulder up, pull those elbows up, and kind of snatch it and clean it up here to like a front rack position. So from here, just getting it right here, we want to make sure we have that thumb, middle of our chest, want straight wrist, want to keep that elbow locked down, that kettlebell's going to rest nice and tight right up in here. Having to engage the core a little more now because we only have weight on one side of our body. Go ahead, same principle, you can have your arm out to the side here, clench fists, down, kind of help you out with your balance. Going all the way down, pushing those hips out, squeezing that glute at the top, all the way down here. You go ahead and let it down, same way you picked it up. You can do that with 2 kettlebells, you can do that with 1 kettlebell. If you don't want to do that, something a little more advanced, you can do box jumps. You can also do pistol squats. So that's one-legged. I don't even know if I can do it. Going all the way down. Some people like to grab their toe if they can. Just going all the way down to that squat position, and then all the way back up. If you want to talk about ATP PCR.
Yeah, so the squat is obviously a short duration, explosive movement, so it's perfect for our ATP PCR system. If you're doing a squat that lasts longer than 8 to 10 seconds or so, be careful for one, because you're probably exerting a lot more force than a general person would, so be careful with that. And then also make sure that you have adequate rest time in between the sets. You don't want to go too long because you don't want your muscles to get cold and then things will start to work negatively against you. But you definitely want to give your systems a little bit of time to recharge. So if you're doing lighter weight squats, obviously more sets, you can start to engage. I mean, you're engaging all your energy systems at once, but you can start to engage your glycolysis energy system a little bit more. But generally, you're going to stick with the ATP PCR system because that's where you get the explosive power from for when you shoot up back to the top and push the weight back up. So hopefully this video helped you out and you got a little bit more information about one of the more basic lifts. So see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for listening. And Max, Justin said he can deadlift more than you, so I guess you need to step your game up. Thanks.